Hello, I'm Dr. Catherine Harris, and today I want to have a frank, compassionate, and rigorously scientific conversation with you about alcohol and intimacy. If you've ever wondered whether a drink or two can boost desire, reduce anxiety, or improve performance, or if you've noticed the opposite, that alcohol seems to get in the way of connection, arousal, or satisfaction, you are far from alone. This episode is here to give you not just generalities, but a clear, structured understanding of how alcohol interacts with your brain, your body, your emotions, your relationships, and your boundaries. My goal isn't to judge your choices, but to give you the facts and practical tools so you can make choices that fit your values and protect your well-being. Let's begin with the most common belief. Alcohol makes sex better. Where does this idea come from? Part of it is cultural storytelling. Rom-coms, music, advertising, which often pair a glass of wine or a cocktail with effortless chemistry. But another part is psychological. Alcohol can reduce social inhibition and dampen anxiety in the short term. If you typically walk into intimacy carrying worries about your body, performance, or rejection, a small dose of alcohol may feel like a door opening, less self-consciousness, more courage, more playfulness. That subjective shift is real for many people. But the science adds an important footnote. The same substance that takes the edge off anxiety is also a central nervous system depressant. And that matters, because sexual function, desire, arousal, lubrication, erection, orgasm, satisfaction, requires finely tuned communication between brain, hormones, blood flow, and sensory feedback. Anything that blunts the nervous system can also blunt arousal, delay orgasm, and interfere with the very performance some people want to enhance. So, does alcohol help or hurt intimacy? The honest scientific answer is, it depends on the dose, the person, the context, the expectation, and the timeline. A single variable, say half a drink for one person in a safe, loving context, can land differently than 3 drinks for someone else in a situation of uncertainty, pressure, or emotional distance. The result you experience is the sum of multiple overlapping effects. Psychological, reduced anxiety; vascular, changes in blood flow; hormonal, shifts in stress chemistry; neurological, slower reaction times, blunted sensation; and relational, changes in communication and consent. We'll walk through each dimension so you can see the whole picture and decide what help and hurt mean for you. Let's talk about the brain first. Sexual desire begins in the brain long before anything happens in the body. Alcohol, even at low doses, alters the balance between neurotransmitters that govern reward, inhibition, and attention. One early effect is a release from self-monitoring. The little internal critic grows quieter. That can make flirting easier and self-presentation more relaxed. But the same mechanism also makes it harder to notice subtle cues, your partner's micro-movements, your own moment-to-moment sensations, and the line between comfort and discomfort. Healthy intimacy benefits from exquisite attunement. Anything that dulls attention can reduce that attunement. Arousal involves the autonomic nervous system, the balance between sympathetic activation, the energy of pursuit and excitement, and parasympathetic activation, the relaxation required for engorgement, lubrication, and orgasm. Alcohol pushes the system toward sedation. At very low levels, some people feel warmth and a slight reward buzz that they interpret as desire. As levels rise, the depressant effects dominate: slower nerve conduction, decreased genital sensitivity, longer time to climax, and, in many people, difficulty maintaining erection or sustaining adequate lubrication. That's why there's a well-known phrase for erectile difficulties after drinking. People joke about it, but it is a predictable physiological outcome when the dose climbs. Now consider circulation. Genital arousal is a vascular event. For vulva owners, adequate blood flow leads to swelling of the labia and clitoris and promotes lubrication. For penis owners, increased flow and decreased venous outflow support erection. Alcohol is a vasodilator in some vascular beds, and that can cause a transient feeling of warmth and flushing. But it also disturbs the signaling that coordinates the engorgement reflex. The end result often isn't more arousal, but more inconsistency. The mind may feel freer, but the body doesn't always follow through. Let's bring in psychology and expectation. The placebo effect in sexual contexts is powerful. If you believe a glass of wine makes you more alluring and more responsive, that belief alone can increase your self-confidence, lower your anxiety, and allow arousal to unfold more smoothly, especially if you and your partner share that belief and create a ritual around it. Research consistently shows that expectancy effects account for a significant portion of the perceived boost people attribute to alcohol. That means some of the upsides we credit to ethanol itself could be recreated without ethanol by preserving the ritual, dim lights, music, a special glass, a slow exhale, while substituting a non-alcoholic beverage. This is good news for anyone who wants the positive psychology without the physiological downsides. We also need to talk about desire versus performance. They're different. Desire is the mental state of wanting, being curious, feeling drawn toward your partner. Performance is the capacity of your body to do what you want, becoming and staying aroused, coordinating movement, reaching orgasm, maintaining stamina. Low doses of alcohol may increase desire for some by silencing self-doubt. But as the dose increases, performance usually declines. The body becomes slower to respond, genitals are less sensitive, orgasm is delayed or unattainable, and coordination suffers. Picture trying to play a musical instrument. Confidence might loosen your hands, but if you numb your fingers, you can't feel the strings. Sexual skill is similar. Consent must be central to any conversation about intimacy and alcohol. Alcohol impairs judgment, reduces risk perception, and makes it harder to communicate clearly. The standard for ethical intimacy isn't no one said no, but everyone clearly and enthusiastically said yes. Because alcohol blurs enthusiasm and memory, relying on it as a gateway to intimacy can create situations that feel confusing or unsafe afterward. A healthy guideline is simple. If anyone is intoxicated to the point of impaired judgment, slurred speech, balance issues, poor coordination, emotional volatility, then it's not a moment for sex. Replace it with care, rest, and reconnection when everyone is sober. Now, let's explore gendered experiences without overgeneralizing. Many men report that small amounts of alcohol increase confidence, but that larger amounts interfere with erection and ejaculation. Some experience delayed ejaculation. The climax takes longer or does not happen at all, while others notice that sensation is muted, which can lead to friction-related soreness later. Many women report mixed effects as well: initial relaxation and sociability, but decreased genital sensation, less lubrication, and difficulty reaching orgasm as the dose rises. This is compounded by the fact that, on average, women metabolize alcohol differently than men due to body composition and enzymatic differences. A dose that seems small by volume may be a larger dose by physiology. Again, this is about averages. Individual responses vary widely, but it's relevant when partners are trying to calibrate experiences together. We should also talk about the morning after. Alcohol disrupts sleep architecture, reduces REM, and fragments deep sleep. You may fall asleep quickly, but your sleep quality is poorer. The next day, mood regulation is more difficult, stress hormones can be elevated, and the reward circuits are a bit blunted. That means alcohol doesn't just affect sex in the moment, it can also affect the emotional tone and libido of the next day. If intimacy for you is a whole day experience, affection at breakfast, flirtation by text, connection in the evening, alcohol's impact on sleep may ripple through that entire arc. Another key dimension is pain and sensitivity. Alcohol is not an anesthetic designed for sexual comfort. It is a blunt instrument. In some people, it can temporarily dull discomfort from anxiety-related pelvic floor tension. But because it also dulls healthy sensation, it increases the risk that someone will continue an activity that actually isn't comfortable for them. missing the early signals that would normally prompt a change. When sensation is blunted, feedback is delayed. That can lead to micro-tears, soreness, or a "why do I feel off today?" feeling that only shows up later. Clear communication and frequent check-ins matter even more if alcohol is involved. We should address libido myths. If you don't feel desire, alcohol is not a treatment. It may cover the symptom, anxiety or inhibition, without addressing the cause. Relationship patterns, stress, resentment, hormonal transitions, medication side effects, depression, body image concerns, or unspoken fears. In some cases, alcohol can actually worsen the cause over time. If you're using alcohol as a first-line tool to access desire, pause and get curious. What is the barrier I'm trying to bypass? Often, self-compassion, therapy, pelvic floor physiotherapy, medical evaluation, stress management, and communication skills open more reliable doors than a drink ever could. Let's talk numbers and thresholds, not to medicalize pleasure, but to give you a working vocabulary. People often refer to a drink as if it were a universal unit, but actual ethanol content varies by beverage and pour size. What the body experiences is a rising blood alcohol concentration, not a social label. As BAC rises from near zero toward moderate levels, you'll see progressive changes: reduced social inhibition, mild euphoria, decreased motor coordination, slower reaction time, and then more pronounced impairment. The curve is not your friend for sexual performance. Most people who report the most satisfying sexual experiences under the influence are actually living in the low-dose range, where expectations and ritual do most of the lifting. As soon as BAC crosses into the zone where coordination and sensitivity are meaningfully affected, satisfaction tends to drop, even if confidence remains high. That mismatch, "I feel bold, but my body isn't listening," is where frustration and misattunement often appear. Now let's map alcohol's interactions with common medications and health conditions, because intimacy doesn't happen in isolation from the rest of your life. Alcohol and certain antidepressants can amplify sedation or emotional blunting, potentially muting desire and orgasm. Alcohol and some anti-anxiety medications can dangerously stack, impairing breathing and memory. This is a firm no. Alcohol and blood pressure medications can cause dizziness or faintness, which is not compatible with passionate acrobatics. If you live with diabetes, alcohol can destabilize blood sugar, and sexual exertion adds another variable. Plan with intention, not spontaneity, fueled by cocktails. If you've had prostate surgery, or you're navigating endometriosis, pelvic pain, or menopausal transition, sexual response may already require careful attention. Adding alcohol complicates that attention. None of this means never drink, but it does mean plan soberly. Because intimacy is relational, we should talk about alignment and boundaries. If one partner is drinking and the other is not, asymmetries emerge in perception, in speed of thought, in humor, in memory of what happened. That asymmetry can make one person feel left behind or pressured. Consider establishing a shared framework. Will we drink on nights we intend to be intimate? If so, how much? What are our green, yellow, and red signals? What is our plan if one of us crosses into impairment? Do we switch to cuddling and reschedule sex for tomorrow? Agreeing in advance turns potential conflict into care. Let's also tell the truth about social pressure. Many people drink not because they want alcohol, but because they want belonging. If your friend group associates a fun, free vibe with drinking, your body may automatically link romance with a cocktail. Unbundling those associations can transform your intimacy. Keep the parts that enhance connection: music, laughter, shared rituals, and remove the chemical. Make mocktails beautiful. Pour them into your favorite glass. Keep the slow pour, the eye contact, the soundtrack, the candlelight. You'll be surprised how much of the magic remains. Now, I want to give you a concrete toolkit. If you choose to include alcohol in your intimate life, do it intentionally. Hydrate beforehand and throughout the evening. Eat. Stable blood sugar prevents mood crashes. Pace yourself and check in every 15 to 20 minutes with your own body. Am I more present or less present? Are sensations clearer or fuzzier? Is my partner communicating with ease? Build in a pause before intimacy to recalibrate. 10 minutes of slow breathing, a warm shower, or a walk outside to check the stars. If presence increases, proceed. If presence fades, pivot to connection without sex. The goal isn't to avoid pleasure, it's to protect it. Here's a second toolkit for people who want the benefits they once attributed to alcohol: confidence, lower anxiety, playfulness, without the side effects. Ritualize transitional moments. Change lighting. Use music with a rhythm that invites sway. The vestibular system and arousal dance together. Practice a 2-minute grounding exercise. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6, while scanning your body for 3 sensations of comfort. Use scripts for tough first sentences. I want to try something slow. Can we go at my pace and check in? Or, I'm curious about you. Can we explore that? Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the presence of a plan. For couples who feel stuck in a loop, always drinking on date nights because otherwise somebody gets anxious, try an experiment. 3 sober date nights that focus on sensuality rather than performance. Start with non-goal-oriented touch: backs, shoulders, hands, hair. Explore 3 speeds of kisses: feather, press, linger. Agree in advance that climax is optional. You're practicing presence. Notice what happens. Many couples discover that anxiety melts when there's no performance target, and desire arises naturally when they feel safe, seen, and unhurried. Let's not ignore the darker edges. Alcohol can be used to override your own boundaries. If you hear an inner voice saying, "I need a drink to tolerate this," that is a red flag. Your body is signaling that something about the context, the pace, or the partnership isn't aligned with your nervous system's need for safety. Listening to that signal is an act of self-respect. You deserve intimacy that you can enter with a clear mind and a clear yes. What about long-term patterns? Habitual pairing of alcohol and sex can train the brain to link arousal with a substance. Over time, some people notice that it becomes harder to feel desire without drinking. If you recognize this pattern, you are not broken and you are not alone. The brain is plastic. It learns and unlearns. The path forward is to gently decouple the two. Choose a season, 3 to 6 weeks, of alcohol-free intimacy experiments. Expect the first few attempts to feel a bit awkward. That's normal. Ritualize everything you used to love. The clink of a glass becomes the opening notes of a favorite song. The warmth in your chest becomes a heated blanket or a bath. The social permission becomes an explicit verbal invitation between partners. Track your experiences. You'll likely see a trend. Sensitivity returns, responsiveness improves, and satisfaction increases. Let's zoom out to the social ecology of intimacy. Environments that celebrate binge drinking often increase the risk of sexual regret, miscommunication, and loss of trust. Environments that celebrate mindful pleasure, attention to taste, texture, scent, attention to consent, attention to recovery, tend to incubate better sex. This is not puritanism. It's a reminder that pleasure is an art. Artists protect their tools. If your tools are your attention, your sensitivity, your laughter, and your courage, then you want chemicals and doses that sharpen those tools, not dull them. A brief word on diversity. Intimacy is not one story. For queer couples, for trans and non-binary people, for mixed orientation marriages, for older adults, for people living with disability, for trauma survivors, for those exploring kink consensually, the principles here are the same, but the details change. Alcohol doesn't make consent easier in any community. Enthusiastic, informed consent remains the bedrock. Alcohol doesn't make dysphoria vanish. It can, in fact, magnify the distance between body and self. Alcohol doesn't make pain disappear. It blurs the signals that would help you adjust. You deserve tools tailored to your context. Build a care team, medical, mental health, and sex therapy, who understand your lived reality and invite them into the conversation. If you're a parent or a mentor, your modeling matters. When young people hear that alcohol is the key to loosening up, they internalize the idea that their authentic self is insufficient. A healthier message is, your authentic self is worthy, and many paths exist to ease anxiety that do not harm your body or your trust in yourself. Teach them the rituals of presence: breath, laughter, music, movement, safe friendships, good boundaries, and yes, beautiful drinks that contain no ethanol at all. Let's return to our opening question. Alcohol in intimacy. Does it help or hurt? The scientific answer is that low doses may feel helpful for anxiety and social ease, largely via expectations and context, while higher doses reliably impair arousal, coordination, orgasm, and sensitivity, and blur consent. Across individuals, there is wide variability, but the core pattern holds. When alcohol seems to be helping, examine what it's actually doing. Is it creating safety or merely muting fear? Is it amplifying presence or numbing sensation? Is it deepening connection or making conversation easier but intimacy shallower? Your body can tell the difference if you practice listening. I want to close with a practical map you can apply this week. First, name your goal. Do you want to reduce anxiety, boost desire, increase novelty, or deepen connection? Second, choose a ritual that serves that goal without alcohol. Slow dancing for anxiety, a shared fantasy conversation for desire, a new setting or sensory element for novelty, extended affectionate touch and eye contact for connection. Third, if you do choose to drink, plan ahead. Set a personal limit that keeps you in the zone of presence. Drink slowly, punctuate with water, and build a stop point where you reassess consent and coordination. Fourth, reflect the next day. What worked, what didn't, and what you'd like to repeat. This is how pleasure becomes art, through attention, iteration, and kindness. I'm Dr. Catherine Harris. Thank you for your trust and your time. You deserve intimacy that is safe, connected, and deeply satisfying, tonight and in the long arc of your life. May your choices be informed, your rituals be beautiful, and your boundaries be strong. And may you discover, perhaps to your surprise, that the most reliable aphrodisiac is presence, the kind that doesn't come in a glass, but grows quietly inside your breath, your skin, your courage, and your care.